There's no other underwater scenes to make it
oh my gosh,
unnecessarily long.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because I thought about it one time this week where I was like, I don't think there were any underwater scenes. And then I just never thought about it again. But I watched it today for a second time. And I was like, there are no underwater scenes. This is amazing. We did it, everybody. We survived. Well, before we get fully started, I want to say that this could have been like an 8 or a 9 if it weren't for two things. There are only two things, but they pull me out so hard that I can't put this movie at the top.
I mean, it's hard for me not to. Maybe not in terms of strict rating, it just feels so much more familiar. And I mean, that's obviously, but
well, and there are things I love about it. Like, there are things that I think are so terrific, but in watching it twice, the same two things pulled me out so hard that I was like, I can't do the nostalgia glasses. Hello and welcome to Potato Chip Pictures, the movie franchise review podcast, currently looking at the James Bond franchise. My name is B. Sammy Davis.
Nice to hear you. My name is Justin.
And today, we have finally made it to GoldenEye, Pierce Brosnan's debut as James Bond, getting to wear the tuxedo, getting to shoot the PPK or PP7. I genuinely don't know.
Yeah.
And this is one of those movies where I've got to be honest with you. I'm a little more nostalgic for the video game than the movie.
I think, having only played the movie a little, or the game a little bit, that I was happy that I didn't know everything that was coming in the movie. But it had a definite sheen of nostalgia for me. Like, this is a movie that's above average. It's already above the halfway mark of the scale. I don't know what other Bond movies so far would have been better than it. We'll have to see as we talk.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the two favorites, the two that I guess three. The three movies that I kind of love the most are From Russia with Love, despite everything about it. It just has a soft spot for me. Like, I just kind of like it. The Spy Who Loved Me, where we first meet Jaws. And then Moonraker, where we again meet Jaws. So those are the top of my summit. Those are the big movies for me. And GoldenEye, I'm spoilers for the review at the end. I think this is going to be among my top movies, but my mind has changed during the discussion of these things, and we'll see what happens. But before we get to any of that, let's get to the crucial stats. This movie came out in 1995, another pretty big year for movies. It is not named after any of the books because there is no book named GoldenEye, but there is a Caribbean hideaway that Ian Fleming used to escape to, and he would work there, and he called it GoldenEye. It was the loving name he gave to it, and so it's kind of a shout out to Ian Fleming, but it's not a book reference or anything else.
I think there's a shout out in the casino. Bond looks at a car and is like, wait, is that the car from, I can't remember the name, the Lotus?
I thought he was looking at the Ferrari.
The Ferrari. Okay.
Yeah, Jean Grey was driving.
I was like, wait, did I miss something? No, it's the Ferrari. Okay.
All right. This movie had a budget of $60 million. That is about double what we were looking at in the 80s, where they were in the 30s to 40s range. And here we are. It makes sense with inflation and everything. I imagine 60 million is close to what they were planning on spending, in the 80s. Like that's roughly about the same. But they came back with $352 million. Oh my gosh. It is ridiculous how well this movie did. And this movie, it was a major deal culturally in the mid-90s because we hadn't had a Bond for 6 years. There was a brand new Bond. There was a brand new M. Who was now a woman. Like, everything was hyped and ready to go. And then, of course, there's that Nintendo 64 video game that, has defined at least one generation of film goers. And
and I think that was probably a very crafty... I think this is, PG-13, but still a really good way to get that video game audience at least intrigued to see James Bond, where previous James Bonds may have been not marketed towards, teenagers.
I think you're right. I think
Nintendo
the previous
64.
ones were like, here's a 40-year-old man. Let's market this to middle-aged white men. And that may have worked in the 80s and earlier. But yeah, I think marketing to teenagers in the 90s really was a pretty smart move to be like, look, it's hip, it's got a video game, it's got pretty cool toys, we've got this really sexy villain, we've got a really sexy Bond girl, like we've got a sexy main villain in Sean Bean, like everything
and
about
everybody,
this.
everybody is teenager hormonal crazy. Like,
yes.
Oh my gosh. Every single person.
Yes, even the general and the main computer programmer, Boris, like they're also teenagers.
Like the villain will also get distracted, Sean. Alec.
Yeah, Alec Trevelyan, if you're looking for the name.
No. I was not gonna try much with the last names.
Well, what I love about... I'm sorry. What I love is going to the James Bond wiki and seeing the portrait for Alec Trevelyan being the video game portrait.
That's interesting.
It's a very blocky Sean Bean, but it's Sean Bean looking at it.
Yes. I think it's maybe the beginning is probably the weakest part of all this to me. I don't even know if I remember the theme song, if it even goes along with GoldenEye.
Okay.
You'll have to tell me.
It does say GoldenEye. It's a Tina Turner song. It is not one of the ones I like, but it's also not offensive. Like, I listen to it and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's a James Bond song. And it says GoldenEye, like, check. It hits all of the marks that I look for. I just don't love it. Like, it's just not one that I usually think about. And frankly, so you already said the first thing that I hate about this movie, which is the beginning. The second thing I kind of hate about this movie is the music. They had this very synth-heavy composer who, he captured a sound that definitely translates well to the Nintendo 64 because, a lot of the musical notes and cues, you hear them on a cartridge and you hear them on the big screen. So in that regard, good on him. But the rest of it just, I don't know, it feels old. It doesn't even feel mid-90s. It feels late 80s to listen to these beeps and boops going throughout. And apparently, for the tank scene, they had to bring in another composer because he couldn't do it.
Couldn't do the James Bond. Oh man.
Yeah, like
Well,
it just didn't work. So those are the two things that really pull me out of this movie. We're going to talk about the beginning of this movie, and I'm going to be like, oh, this sucks. And then, we're not going to talk about it again, but just an undertone for the whole thing is that the beeps and boops in the musical score, I hate. I don't like them. I don't like them at all.
At the beginning, does it follow? So it's the iconic beginning.
Yes, and he skips the entire damn level. I'm sorry.
He just gets to jump down.
Yeah, like we had to go through and shoot a bunch of dudes and like find keys and stuff, get doors open, and then we get to rappel. He's like instantly rappelling, and and I just think about that every time because again, I am way more familiar with the video game than the movie. So for me, some of the story beats that happen in the movie are not in the video game and vice versa. And this is one of those things where like the game has the dam being a to-do. It is a thing that he really has to overcome. But in the movie, it's just where a stuntman gets to go bungee jumping.
And it's pretty cool. It hits all of here's the tech that James has. We don't have to really introduce it. He just gets to use it and laser watch.
The gun that like anchors into the concrete to allow him to pull himself down. Like I really liked that. So I will give the movie its due there.
I feel like it's a nice way to be polite to the audience. Like Bond isn't new by this generation, but this is a new iteration. But let's confirm all of the myths that you know so far. He's athletic, jumps off a thing, and then invades the dam and, like, starts getting stuff done.
Yeah, so, like he knocks out a dude upside down in a bathroom and...
quips about it.
Yes.
Like Spider-Man.
Now, unfortunately, Mike Bean is able to get the... Mike Bean? Sean Bean. Who's
Sean
the...
Bean. Yeah.
Yeah. Alec is able to get the drop on him because he is able to find him in the shadows, but it's okay because it's 006, Alec Trevelyan.
Yeah, that's why.
And I'm trying to remember, but I think we now have had 4 00 agents in movies because I think 002 died in The Living Daylights.
The clown?
Was the clown 002? I thought he was 003.
Oh.
But the clown was another one. So we had the training mission 00 agent. Right. We had the clown. And then I'm trying to remember. I think there was the third who we never saw die, but it was the man with the golden gun. And they never found the bullet because it was in the belly dancer's navel.
Oh boy. Yep. I recall.
So I guess we've only had 3 00 agents that have ever been talked about, and we don't know if they get replaced.
Yeah.
Like, do they have, new 00s, or do they just keep counting up? Like, is there an 010, 011? Like
the continuity of this universe is just non-existent.
And
like
that's
M
another thing
around,
that we have to
Q
deal
stays
with.
Around.
Yeah. This movie, it frustrates me so much because it is a reboot, but not a hard reboot. It's a reboot that says there are some things from the past that did happen, and most of them didn't. And there are some things that are confirmed. Q has been the same Q forever. M is absolutely a position. It is something that someone gets appointed to. We kind of knew that with our previous M, but there will be a scene where Bond's like, your previous counterpart kept bourbon or kept cognac.
Oh yeah.
And she's like, I drink bourbon. But they're just forcing it in your head that they're like, this really is the same MI6. And they're also telling us that Bond is a man one person every time. It's just a different actor playing it, but every time has been the same Bond, as opposed to other movies that have had a wink and a nod and have been like, no, it's another guy. So
I'm curious if this Bond will be married in any of the next movies in the past. Like, do we get any allusions to his failed marriage? Or, well, no, not failed.
I mean, it's a kind of
murdered.
Yeah. It's not exactly like anyone's fault except for the murderer's fault. But like it didn't last very long. Oh, goodness. But yeah, then, okay. I need to say the thing about this opening sequence that bothers me the most, and then I'll say one other thing. But the thing that bothers me the most is they're going down all the time. And the dam is at the highest point because it's collecting water from the river that's flowing downward. So he starts at the very top. But when we get to the end of this chemical weapon facility mission, he's at the top again. And I get so angry. And there's no dam. There's no water. I'm just so mad.
All these cool stunts exist
like,
in a place where this could be possible, but it's impossible.
Exactly. So that's what frustrates me about the entirety of this scene, is that it pulls me out when I'm like, when did he get to this new mountaintop facility? Like, this is so bizarre. And then just because I'm right and I'm always right, the more connected the intro scene is to the rest of the movie, the worse that intro scene is, and I'm standing my ground.
I mean, where it comes to the future and all the spoilers that we'll go ahead with, I think I don't know that well, I'm trying to think of when it does start feeling attached to the miniseries, because it says 6 years later.
9 years later.
9 years later? Oh.
Yeah.
How soon do we feel like Alec? Because it's the same general.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't have any suspicion about Janice. I mean, I should read more books because it seems a bit obvious. Like, there's only one other bad guy in this, and it's
gasp.
006. So I understand the idea that how much it's connected will impact how bad it feels. But I just don't know that it's too obvious.
That's part of it, because they make it sound as though Alec had wanted to turn traitor before that mission. That mission was his out. He was going to fake a death, get out of there before the 6-minute timer had gone off. And then, he's dead. 007 blew up the place. The general's gone. And so I think the plan existed. At least that's kind of what I got out of the movie. But at the time, Bond watched his friend get shot in the head. Like, I keep trying to think, how did they fake that? And that's the part where it pulls me out. And I don't know, maybe watching it.
Magic.
Exactly. Like, watching it at the time, I might have been like, oh, he is dead. And then when he comes back, it's like, oh. But watching it again, I'm just like, it's not earned. It's earned.
It's somehow survived that bullet.
Exactly. Palpatine has returned.
Yep. Well, so, I mean, I think it is very heavy in nostalgia that makes the beginning feel okay and adventure-y. Actually, it feels like Jason Bourne, let's do this mission, and it fails. Oh, and Bond has to escape. I think those are, like, the failures make it funner to get out of the situations or exciting.
He doesn't really fail. He only fails to get his buddy out of there.
Yeah, he gets caught while doing the mission.
Yeah, they do get caught, but he does complete the mission. And I do absolutely think that the airplane stunt is wonderful. So, At the end of, breaking in and setting up the bombs for this chemical weapons facility that we're kind of glossing over because neither of us really love it. Like, it's tense. I'll admit it is fun to watch. The very first time I watched it, I was like, okay, this is good. And I've never hated watching it. Of all the bad intros, it's probably the best. It flows. It works kind of well. There's only a couple of things that take me out. And one of the things that takes me out is the fact that when Bond escapes, he is now at the top of a mountain and there's a long runway with a plane getting ready to take off. And so for a moment, I'm just like, where's the dam? How did he get all the way up here? Like, what is going on? But then he starts chasing the the airplane. It goes off. Like, I love it. It goes off the cliff. He goes off the cliff with a motorcycle. He has to dive down to get it and then pull the plane up and then like fly away like a hero. And I love it. It's a great scene. I'm into it. I like that stunt.
Yeah, that's a really good, if incoherent scene. Let's blow up the let's blow up the chemical facility at the top of the mountain that's at the bottom of the dam.
Yes.
It's very Doctor Strange, moving all those pieces around. If that's it about the intro, I just got a question to ask as to why is it PG-13 if only the intro has nudity? Straight up.
Yes. I have a real answer for you, and the real answer is not satisfying. The real answer is that it's arbitrary, and usually someone pays a bribe to the MPAA. There's a whole documentary about it when the South Park guys made Team America, the puppet movie. They gave their first cut to the MPAA, and they almost immediately gave them an NC-17 rating, which will not air in a movie theater in the United States of America. And so they were like, well, that's strange. Well, what was it? And they gave some vague notes about violence and sex. And so the guys were frustrated, and they were like, okay, let's just out of our own pocket pay for another submission, but we're going to up everything by like 10. We're going to do even more violence, even more sex. And we're going to release that to troll them. And that was the one that got approved as a rated R movie because it's arbitrary and they don't have actual reasoning or methodology. They usually just want to make sure they can collect as much money as possible. And likely whoever owned the rights at this time was doing the same thing. They were like, okay, we will pay for submitting this multiple times. They probably argued you can barely see the nudity and there's no blood. Like, that may have been how they got away with it.
I guess so.
But yes, the real answer is so unsatisfying because it sucks. It's like, come on. If there were even a tiny amount of a rubric that you could follow and be like, yeah, that makes sense why that got that rating. And every once in a while you'll have someone, who knows, maybe if I turn this into a short, we'll get someone who leaves a comment where it's like, boobs are allowed if it's one time in the movie, i.e. Titanic. But that's not true. There are other PG and PG-13 movies from earlier, so I will give it that. But they had lots of boobs and nobody cared. Like, it's arbitrary. There is no rubric. It doesn't make sense. The only thing that might be true is you're allowed one F word in a PG-13 movie. Like, and that's a big maybe.
That's the line.
Yeah.
Well, it was an average intro. If it felt like there was more naked bodies a little bit, but
I mean, it's naked bodies shot in 90s high definition.
Yeah.
So I would say it's about the same amount of nudity we've had in the past, but the cameras are getting better, and so it's harder to hide them with lighting effects, I guess.
Yeah.
And I'll admit I was more focused on the CG statues and stuff because while I could tell it was
Russians.
CG, yeah, like I kind of liked the imagery in it. Like the girls, they're just standard Bond titillating affair.
Sure.
We see them in all the movies. It's the other imagery that I often find myself comparing with these movies. And I was like, we only get that statue park scene one time in this movie, and yet it is pretty much the entirety of the opening credits where there's these giant Soviet statues and monuments that are being torn down by naked women. And it's like, somebody really liked that statue park.
Yeah, that was another intro. Nothing quite super special.
It's, if we ever do an intro rating type deal, this will probably end up on the positive half. Like this will be in the upper half for me. But this song is not showing up in my Spotify liked songs. I never think about GoldenEye by Tina Turner. It's just not a song that I think about.
I watched it and I barely remembered that there was a theme song.
Yep. Checks all the boxes. Still not memorable. Still not any good. And that kind of sucks because right now there are only 2 theme songs that have appeared in my Spotify playlists, and they're both the movies I like the least. We've got Goldfinger. I love that song. And then Live and Let Die from Paul McCartney and the Wings. And I love that song. And I hate both of their movies. But, you know, I'm getting ahead of myself. We got to get back into this thing. And they take us... Let me see. I gotta get where... I had a whole thing about locations pulled up because I was just shocked at how few locations there were, despite the fact that it feels like there are so many places. And I think it's Monaco that makes it feel this way. Because when we're in Monaco, we see so many different flags, and like the last part of Monaco is in the French Navy. Like it's so hard to keep in your head that you are in Monaco for the car driving 9 years later, all the way until the helicopter is stolen. But that's one country.
And it kicks off the bonkers, horny people. Like he's driving with some sort of therapist, analyst that she tells him to stop driving so crazy because the villain woman, we don't know that she's exactly the villain woman yet, is speeding around him, and they're just having fun doing a car race down this mountainside. But she gets him to stop, and he's like, he's immediately, I don't know if it was like, it was a mutual type of seduction that just felt like it was a introduction to James Bond. Like he had the action scene, but at the dam, there's nobody to seduce, so immediately we have to add that to his background and history. Like, okay, this person you're driving in the car with that writes reports on you, her first. Then we're gonna get to the card table, and it's the girl, and her next. So it's like, oh my gosh.
We have to say it like right away. We have to make sure that everybody knows this is James Bond. There is one line from the car chase that I love, and I kept thinking about it all week, and I might even make a TikTok short using it because it's so funny. No, I won't, because it's a little bit sexist. It's a lot of bit sexist. But
I think
yes.
I might know it, but I don't know.
So Bond is driving like a maniac, and the analyst is like, you know, you got to slow down. You can't be acting this way. And then Jean Grey, you know, drives in with her Ferrari. And the analyst is like, look, I like excitement as much as the next girl. And then she turns around and she's like, "Who's that?" And Bond's like, "The next girl." I laugh at it every time. It's horrible and I love it.
Well, because like he's got champagne or something in the car.
Yeah, it's gross.
It's all loaded to be like, okay, he can seduce any woman at any point, at any time, and so that's why changing M to Judi Dench, right?
Mm-hmm,
is her name,
Yeah.
and making her old and like a motherly figure, even though she's so what's the word? Cold and critical of Bond. Like she's a great foil to this super seducey, super sex guy.
Oh yeah. I'm excited to get to M because if I'm honest with you, I feel like that's when the movie starts to get good for me. Like all of Monaco, I don't enjoy. Getting to the casino, watching him play some Baccarat.
Baccarat again, gosh.
And he loses his first hand. If Jean Grey got up and walked away, you know, he wouldn't be able to get his money back. But she doubles and he wins. That frustrates her to walk away, and that's when he seduces her. But she's got another man. She's got an admiral.
Being a shark, you know?
Yeah.
All these random... It's the continuation of cramming for the James Bond test. What is he good at? Cards. Yeah. All right, check.
Yeah, that is what the beginning of this movie feels like. It's like we promise we made a James Bond movie.
Yeah.
And to prove it, we're going to put every James Bond thing right here at the beginning. And it just doesn't work for me. But it's only the beginning that doesn't work for me. And so I'm so critical of this whole beginning because I'm just like, this is the worst. This is genuinely bad Bond.
Yeah. As part of the actual arc of the thing, it is a lot of introduction to the character that we kind of already know, and then right as they're almost the helicopter heist, we start getting more of the okay, this is where the plot is going. I promise we have an idea behind this movie.
Yes, I agree.
We're ready to go.
Where did you start to see that twinkle of an idea? Because I have an exact moment where I was like, okay, maybe this movie actually is good, and I should like sit back and let it see what it does.
I mean, I'd say after they have played their card game and Bond sees them get on the ship and he notices the helicopter that's eventually going to get stolen tomorrow, and he gets details on Xenia.
That is the exact place for me as well.
It's like, okay, here is the real movie.
Yep.
Is right here.
That's where GoldenEye actually begins. Like, so far we've had nothing but fluff, and it sucks. But then, finally, when they part ways and, you know, Bond is doing some actual spy work, I'm like, okay. And he's in touch with MI6? Like, he's doing his job? This is awesome. Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
I don't love... Well... I know that Jean Grey's sex murder and sex fighting is like her big gimmick, and that's what people love to talk about with her character. I just hate it, and I don't like it anytime. I caught it every time. Apparently, she has an orgasm every time she murders someone. That is a consistent thread throughout the whole movie. And
it wasn't everything that is about her, like if that was not the only thing I know about this character.
For me too. Like if she had something more to her. Like I keep thinking about Mayday, where Mayday was in love with Zoran or whatever his name was. She loved the villain of the Living Daylights.
Yeah.
Or not The Living Daylights. It was the one before that. View to a Kill with the blimps. But Mayday stands out to me as one of those great villainesses because she had character to her and because there were things about her that were human. And then I'm gonna do this for the whole podcast, so you have to be the one covering me by calling her by her real character name. Jean Grey just is not that. She is this flat one-note character who is gorgeous. Like,
sure.
That's just something about Jean Grey from the 90s.
As we were coming up to watching this, I had, we talk and we chat and we have gifs, and it's like, oh, yeah, she's gorgeous. And I could not tell you, other than the sex murders, a single thing else about her.
That's it.
Like,
gorgeous and sex fighting.
Yeah.
The Manticore scene, I like that Bond is doing spy work, but I don't particularly love the rest of it. It just doesn't work for me. It is iconic. It is one of those things that I instantly see it and go, oh yeah, GoldenEye, sex murderer. That's GoldenEye. So kudos to it for being identifiable. Just not my jam.
Not my jam.
And it could have been, oh my gosh, it could have been way later in the movie when Sean Bean's character is being creepy with our real Bond girl.
Oh, yeah.
Jean Grey is in the background, and I just kept thinking, if you pulled a Mayday here, I would love you as a character. I would be like, she's so dope. But she just sits there and pretends like everything's cool. She's into this. Like, so gross. That's my beef.
Well, we'll hit the notes as we get to them. I want to go to the story because now Bond knows that the lady is up to no good. She kills the general that's in charge of something. Admiral, in charge of something. I presume the ship, because then she is able to be on board with this shadow extra figure, which we'll call Janice, because that's his name in the next part. And replace the pilots that were going to take the helicopter.
By murdering them in a boat.
Without a silenced pistol. Kablam! Kablam!
And no one notices.
Nobody checks. Nobody's worried. Those boat sounds happen all the time.
Yeah, there's always what sounds like gunfire inside of these French boats.
I think I appreciate that it's just a heist. They get in the helicopter and take off, and Bond is the only one that's like trying to get at them.
He tries to stop them, and he gets stopped. Like, it's lucky that Bond doesn't get murdered for rushing a military installation, but whatever, he's alive. But he failed, and I liked that. I liked that Bond sees what's happening and is too late to act, and the helicopter is gone.
And while the helicopter is getting away, it diverges into the two timelines of here's where the helicopter goes, and Bond and M and all of them are like, so what is going to happen with this helicopter? But the next scene is the Russian side of that coin. But I don't know, is there anything else about the heist?
No. You covered it way more fairly than it probably should have been. It's not a great scene, but at the same time, it gets the story going. It tells us that, Bond was there and could not stop the thing. And so he's got a little private vendetta. So I can appreciate that he would rush back to the UK to be like, okay, something is going down. This sucks, and I couldn't stop it. Everybody get into this war room and let's talk about it. But you're right.
I like that it happens simultaneously. Like,
yes.
Because we see what's happening with GoldenEye at the Russian station, and then we get Bond and them looking at stuff, and then it all happens together. And I super love that because it feels like a living movie. Like, usually things happen in waterfall, like there's the next thing, and here's the next thing. It's like, oh, like these are happening right now.
I am going to steal this observation from someone else, and I cannot remember who I heard it from while I was doing all the, pre-show research.
Sure.
But someone pointed out that the Bond movies tend to look at what is popular at the time and try to make a movie in that style. And in this time, it was the Tom Clancy movies where things were very dynamic and things do happen at the same time because, like, Tom Clancy is just about to figure out where the nuke is going to be, and then the nuke is going to blow up where he just figured it out. And so, it's fast and it's happening at the same time, and it's so interesting to watch. But the Bond franchise is not known for doing that, and so they had to really kind of push themselves to make that kind of scene, and I like it. I like it a lot.
Like, they find the helicopter, they're looking at the stuff, and they don't, there's nothing to really know because they're just looking at the spy satellite, but they know that planes get launched towards it. But the planes get launched because the A general or something goes to the station, pretends to be doing an inspection, orders the GoldenEye satellite to be prepared, enters access codes, gets it all ready, and then Xenia, guns down everyone. I mean, I'm not sure the exact order.
I think you got it right on the nose.
She shoots everybody, has one of her orgasms. The general may be one of a couple people that aren't just bonkers horny in this.
But he's still emotional.
What?
He's going to be emotional for this whole movie, so he's still a teenager.
Yeah, but he looks at her like, what is your deal? That's a little odd, but I mean, you're here to explode a place with the GoldenEye, but he's still conscious enough to be like, this lady's crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, someone fires off the alarm. That's the real reason the MiGs were scrambled. It wasn't because they were after the helicopter. They didn't even know the helicopter was there. It was pure coincidence that the MiGs happened. To the Brits, it's coincidence. Or maybe they're thinking they've been following the same helicopter. But no, it is a siren that is alerted.
Because the GoldenEye is super secret, so British still know about it, but
and barely. They even say our analysts said that this was impossible to make, so there's nothing to worry about. And it's like, you're wrong.
Yep. They steal the key, the main eyeball thing. I think in my teenage brain when I watched this, probably thought that thing was called the GoldenEye, but I feel like it's the program. I feel like it's the satellites. The satellites have different names. I don't know what that big orange egg yolk thing is called. Yeah,
that's just a key. And it's got keys with the key. And apparently,
but they're on the same tray.
Exactly. Apparently, the GoldenEye is the ground-based satellite dish, and then the orbiting satellites have their own names that I have forgotten. But the thing that pulls me out of it is we get a clear view of a mobile, rotatable satellite that the Russians have in Siberia, or in Severnaya, wherever that is. And then we're told that there's another one, and in the end of the movie, it is nothing like the one we were told that it is modeled after. And I'm like, that pulls me out a little bit. I forgive it because it looks cool, but I'm always thinking that how could you possibly say you made a replica? You didn't even make what was close to a replica.
This giant dish versus this smaller one.
Yeah.
You just need to send, literally, the dishes are sending information to the thing. They're not powering the satellite. They're just saying, do this thing.
Yep.
You don't need a giant dish, but nope. I guess.
You could do it from any satellite dish in the world as long as you can plug in that little key.
Yeah. Yeah, you could go like hijack some other satellite base and maybe do it there.
Yep.
I don't know.
Now, the last scene that I don't like, and I've watched it more than I have watched the actual movie this week, because I keep coming back to it thinking, like, this is the first time we got Judi Dench as M. Maybe I am missing something, because I love her as M, and I hate her in this movie.
Interesting.
She might... I think she captures...
I don't know if she changes too much.
Yeah, I think she's pretty much the same character. It's just the combative relationship between her and Bond, and the fact that it seems like she's a bit defensive about her position when people are, being sarcastic around her. And so I get this impression that she's, I don't know, she's not ready for the role, or she's brand new in it and no one trusts her. I love that she calls out Bond for exactly the flaws that everybody calls out Bond for, where they're like, you're misogynistic, you're a relic of the past, like this, keep up with the modern world, my dude, like stop beating women and stop sleeping with everything and thinking that just because you're a man, you are the hero. Now go be a hero.
So that's too much to ask, man.
Yeah. So it's probably my least favorite Judi Dench as M scene, and she is my favorite M. To her credit, I think she captures... Oh, yeah. I think she captures the vibe of our very first M, who would always keep Bond on a short leash and would yell at him frequently. I think she has that vibe going on. But in this first movie, she doesn't do a great job. It's going to be the subsequent movies, but especially the Daniel Craig movies, where she is so great for this franchise. Like, it starts here. This is where it all begins. It's not my favorite, but she is my favorite M. Like, I want to make sure that that is clear. We've gotten to her.
Yeah, I think she's acceptable for this first one. Like, I don't think she doesn't come back much at all. Like, later on, he's using his contact in the CIA, who's upgraded his movie card status from Living Daylights to GoldenEye. Like, I think that was I almost didn't think it was the same guy. I was like, they could be brothers, but they look so similar.
I didn't look it up.
It's him.
That is crazy.
I was like, that is that guy. Okay. The weapons guy from the fake contacts. Like, he's getting the money, but he hasn't bought anything with it.
I'm going to have to go back and watch.
I can't remember his name. But he's the main last bad guy that Bond takes out with the remote thing.
Okay.
It's him.
That is nuts. That is insane. Yeah. But that's what they do sometimes. They just recast actors that they've used in the past, put them in new costumes, give them, and they're actors, so clearly they're able to take on a different role. And just like Blofeld, the guy who was a Bond ally and then cast as Blofeld, I think he had fooled you, and now this guy fools me. This guy, I'm like, what? Like, that's the same dude? That's crazy.
That's the same dude. Like, I like him a lot better in this one. We'll get to him.
Yeah. He essentially becomes the new Felix, at least for this movie, because again, Felix is in the DEA and he's missing his legs.
And I felt like it was a mix between Felix and our racist.
Yes. Oh my gosh. When I first saw him, I was like, is this going to be a racist cop? Like, this sucks. Let's get to him, because what we're skipping over is the Q scene. And I feel like the Q scene was another obligatory scene, like another proof that we are Bond. Yeah. There are
beautiful BMW.
Yes. And there are some gadgets that are going to be used. 2 of them that I can think of off the top of my head. But otherwise, we're really just in it so we can see the Q branch. So that's why I feel okay skipping it.
With the quips that Bond gets to do, sometimes they're just eye-rolly. They're ridiculous. Q branch gets to be lighthearted and fun. And Q is, better than Bond. So we can't have him too much in the movie, but he's integral to what came before, and he's the same guy. So this is the only piece, right? Aside from Jimbo's, what's his name? I can't remember the guy.
Yeah, and he's not even the same character, so we can't point to him. But you are correct. Q is the only carryover from the previous franchise to our reboot, our soft reboot. It's so hard to call it a reboot because of Q and because of some parts of this movie that are like, we promise it's still James Bond.
Jack Wade.
But yeah, when we get to Russia, I feel like once we're in Russia, and I think it's starting with meeting that CIA agent, I'm a little hesitant. I'm like, you kind of give me the vibes of the racist cop, but you're good humored. Bond seems to like you, so I think I'm gonna go for this ride too and see if I enjoy it. And I'm glad I do, because I love this CIA cop.
For a nice introduction to him being into future movies, I think it's good. I think he does show up in one of the next ones. I don't know which one.
Good. I would be glad to see him again. I liked him. As far as a useless American character goes, I like him. And I can't remember which of the Felix movies where I really liked the Felix character, and then other movies where Felix was just kind of there. But this guy, I like him. He is literally just there. And yet I enjoy him every time he's on camera. I'm like, he's fun. But, he gives Bond the lead by saying that if you want to get to Yanis, you first have to go to this former KGB spy who is now a crime lord, and he is Yanis's #1 competition. So if there's anyone who's going to help you find him, it's going to be the one who hates him. Unfortunately, the former KGB spy also hates Bond, and it might be because because of Bond, now he has to be a gardener in Hogwarts. And
it's like Bond refused his letter to Hogwarts. So
yes.
I think it's an interesting talking scene. I feel like early on in Bond, in the early ones, I noticed how set some scenes were to convey all this information to Bond. Yes. Let's have a sit down and some whiskey, and we'll tell you exactly what is happening, audience. Yes. So it's like, this guy, there's a little bit of relationship building that happens with them, and there's Minnie Driver in her best Chappelle Rowan hair and cowboy hat. I'm like, what is the style of cowboy hats in Russia? Is this a thing in the 90s?
Oh man, I am glad that scene exists, but it kind of gives me a headache every time I hear the lady strangling the cat.
So they get to talk and get to advance the plot while maybe creating another anchor character like Jack. Here's, I forgot his name. The Russian Zhukovsky. Valentine.
Are we talking the ex-KGB?
We're talking Hagrid.
Yes. Yeah, Hagrid. Yes. Very small part. But,
I think he comes back in another movie.
Does he?
I feel like these guys are familiar. I looked at Jack Wade. You're going to have to make me look. Zhukovsky, does he come back in another movie? He does come back in another movie. See, I think that's what made it feel like, we're spending a little time.
It's weird to me that for as much as I love Pierce Brosnan as Bond, I know next to nothing about his movies. Like, GoldenEye is the one that I am the most familiar with, and I've only watched it a handful of times, but he looks and sounds and acts just like how I think James Bond should, and so I see Pierce Brosnan and I still think, oh, that's James Bond. And that, yeah, so when you're telling me that there's going to be a character that returns, I'm sitting here like, what? I completely forgot. But he gives Bond the correct direction. They come to an agreement. It's a fairly tense, but as far as exposition scenes go, the scene with Hagrid is one of those that I like. I think that they do it well. The guy threatening to shoot him in the dong is a great way to add tension to the scene. But they come up with an agreement where, Bond is going to help him sell some illegal arms, and then the guy who buys the arms is going to get arrested. But, Hagrid will get to run off with all the money, and that'll be cool.
Illegal arms aren't the main plot of the movie. So yes. It's still higher stakes than just, a drug deal.
Oh, thank God, we're back to high stakes. Oh my gosh. I am so glad that Bond didn't drop everything to say, and then I'm going to bust you for, participating in this arms deal. But we got to go to the spa because that's where Bond can find some contact to the Yanis Corporation and to this Yanis person. I know you keep pronouncing it Janice, but I know Bond said Yanis once, and I can't remember anyone saying Janice in the movie.
Sure.
I don't know. Commenters, correct me if I'm wrong, because
we gotta drop it pretty quickly because
yes,
he's in the spa.
He meets with Jean Grey.
Jean Grey. I had lost her name again. Xenia, but yep. Jean Grey's fine. They fight sexily.
Oh, we completely forgot. At some point, there was another at the same time scene while Bond was driving around with a CIA agent. I forget the name of our other lady. Oh, crap. Natalia. She has got in contact with Boris, Nightcrawler from the X-Men. So we've got 2 X-Men in this movie. But Nightcrawler is like, meet me at this cathedral because that's what Nightcrawler does. But unfortunately, Jean Grey is there. And so Natalia gets captured before.
Gets captured a couple times.
Yeah, she's really good at getting captured. But this is her first time getting captured.
It's true.
Because she could have been captured in the satellite tower, but she was clever in making it look like she escaped through the ventilation, but really hid under the sink. And I love that, and I just needed to make sure that I gave her a shout out for that.
Yeah. We kind of skipped over Boris and Natalia, but we'll get back to them because they came back together.
Exactly. Boris and Natalia are computer programmers / hackers. Boris is the level 1, I guess, and she's a level 2, said with disgust and contempt.
There's no level 0. Boris is the best.
And Boris likes to come up with common word passwords that can be solved with a riddle.
Oh, man. I was like, this is early computer age.
Yes.
Yeah, they've got all this satellite stuff working. It's enjoyable, if very dated feeling, but they don't show too much on the screens. They I feel like it was nicely designed to be kind of like Jurassic Park. Like, here's a screen. Yes. You don't need to know too much about it. This computer does stuff. Here's what you need to read on the screen.
Yeah, the critical words are going to be in large enough font, and there's only going to be like 3 of them. Everything else is going to be pictures, and you're going to get it, even if you don't know anything about computers, because we understand that this is 1995, and computers are still relatively new. They're only just now getting into the household, and maybe a few people have AOL at home, but it's really not a a common thing yet. So we still need good visual storytelling. And
I had a AOL or a Yahoo account, so
that's crazy. Yeah, I had an AOL account back then, so. And I remember, the modem was on the same line as the phone line. So, like, if anybody used the phone, you were kicked off the internet. And that was frustrating.
We don't see Boris make it out alive, kind of like Alec.
Well, he got out
they
early.
Meet back up. You did?
Yes. So I watched it a second time. And one of the reasons I watched it was because it was bugging me. How did Boris get out? And he goes out for a cigarette break when the general shows up in the helicopter. And so if you're watching the movie, you might be thinking, okay, well, if everybody else is dead, surely they killed Boris outside. When they first came in. Yeah. And that's why we never saw him. But no, he's still alive and well. We find out he's alive and well because there's a meeting of the generals and they're like, there are 2 survivors, and Oramov is like, well, I knew about Boris. We're looking for him, but there were no other survivors. And they're like, no, Natalia, you dum-dum. Like, she's also there.
We're looking very, very closely for Boris.
Yeah. But yeah, so when they are finally reunited, it's a very brief scene. Time.
Cool.
Yeah, and it is happening simultaneous to Bond getting information. So when Bond finally learns how to find Yanis, and he meets up in that iconic monument graveyard, I don't know if it exists in the real world or if it was just manufactured for the movie, but I'm pretty sure it's also a level in the video game because I remember a bunch of statues.
I do not. I think I may have played the dam level, but not much else. I can't remember which of my friends had a console.
And I don't remember the order of most things because I'm pretty sure the helicopter, like this statue thing in the game, and I could be speaking out of school. It's been like literal decades since I have played the video game. But if I remember correctly, the archive happens before the statue graveyard. I could be wrong. I could be misremembering it. I just remember playing the dam and the archive the most. And I also remember watching the archive scene in the movie thinking this might be the closest that both pieces of media are to each other. Like, this is finally something where I can be like, okay, I remember this from the game, and then play the game and be like, I remember this from the movie. Almost nothing else is the same. And I can forgive that. I can forgive it. But yeah, the St. Petersburg Soviet statue graveyard is what they call it as a location. And I think they just say it's a Pinewood Studios set. So I think that it's not a real thing, that it's something that was just made up for the sake of this movie.
In terms of Pinewood, and I'm assuming miniatures, when the GoldenEye goes off, we get a miniature plane upside down crashing into the radar station and explosions, and I'm like, I kind of want to see behind the scenes. They didn't crash a plane into a satellite dish, right?
See, and I am the opposite.
It looks so good.
To me, it looked so much like miniatures that I was sitting here thinking like, wow, they filmed me playing with toy planes as a child. Like, I didn't understand how they fly, so they're crashing upside down. And
I thought it looked brilliant because
that was the one that did not work for me.
Gotcha.
But,
well, back to the graveyard. We meet up with Alec, who's apparently had this plan all along because he is a Lienz Cossack. And I, having even watched this show, I think I'd heard the word Cossacks before. Mm-hmm. But I think we get an explanation from Bond that they were Russians that fought the Nazis somewhere.
I think it's Hagrid who tells us the whole history. And I don't know if it's true history. I don't know anything about the Cossacks. But Bond he at least acknowledges that this was not the shining point in British history. But you're right. They were fighting with the Nazi Germans against Soviet Russia because they wanted to overthrow communism. I think that's the explanation they offer in the movie. And so when they are captured by the British government, the British try to create a bridge with the Soviets, and they deliver all of the Cossacks to them. And Lenin, it's either Lenin or Stalin, but someone kills off all of them, or many of them, except for Alec, who was an orphan brought in by the MI6, because apparently that's what they do.
Just orphans, yeah. Well, they made him one, essentially. I mean, it kind of feeds into the motivation, which is very singly focused. So I'm like, okay, he doesn't like London because they betrayed his parents. And you know what? I don't have what do you call it? A way to say, I mean, aside from bombing London will be bad for London and lots of people. Like, I think you should be mad at London.
Yeah.
For
this is one of those
killed.
Justified villains.
Feels like. With the exception that he is going to now kill people. Like, well, what is it? Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Cool motive, still murder.
Yes, exactly. So, a minor tweak to Alec's character, and he becomes a hero. That's how fine a line that he is marching as a villain. And I think that's part of what makes him compelling as a villain. The fact that you can look at it and be like, well, here's a guy who came from a family that wanted to fight the communists, and then the whole Cold War was about fighting the communists. He was trained to fight the communists. And
he doesn't have much competition in terms of villains.
Yeah.
Having good motivations, though.
Yes. Especially in this franchise, there aren't really any that demonstrate critical thinking or, even emotional bearing in what's happening around them. Whereas Alec is justified in being angry. And the problem is he's now angry at Bond, who he never told that he was going to turn traitor. He never told that he was going to run away. He's angry that Bond found himself in an impossible situation, and instead of having a 6-minute timer on the chemical weapons, he set it to 3 minutes, causing Alec to burn half of his face like Two-Face from Batman.
While he was trying to, betray and defect essentially to Russia. It's all complicated. And
also not defect to Russia because he's a criminal in Russia. Like, he is a very complicated character that really does work for himself and wants to cause mass destruction. And that, frankly, is the James Bond secret sauce that we have been missing for the past 5 movies.
Someone with ambition.
Yeah, like blow up a city. Come on. Like the closest we got was A View to a Kill, where someone was going to flood San Francisco and destroy the Silicon Valley. That was the closest we got with our last director, and now we've got someone who wants to do the same, plus rob a bank.
Oh yeah, I feel like the rob a bank was like, well, maybe that's lower stakes then. But,
yes.
I mean, when you got that sort of weapon, I mean, you gotta do what it excels at.
Yeah, and it excels at erasing digital signatures, so... It's an EMP weapon, by the way. We didn't mention it when we talked about it being fired the first time. This is the 90s understanding of an EMP, including the idea that we already have technology that is anti-EMP, because that French helicopter that Alec and Jean Grey had to steal, that is anti-EMP technology, so it can
We only have one, though.
Yep, and it's not going to last very long because right after we meet Alec, he captures Bond, and the Bond gets shot in the neck with a sleeping dart.
Oh, yeah.
In the very next scene, I love the cut. It is Natalia screaming bloody murder.
Does. It works pretty well.
It is so good. It is such a good transition because
I feel like Bond wakes up once a week to that sort of thing. Like,
we don't get to see it in all the movies, but we finally got to see it now. But it is a surprisingly regular part of his life. Yeah, I really like the helicopter escape. I don't fully.
It works.
Like, I guess the idea is that they're trying to frame both Natalia and Bond by blowing up the helicopter with them inside, so it looks like they stole it. It's the plan that they stick with for a surprisingly long time, with Bond being like, that doesn't make any sense. How would I have gotten the plans to GoldenEye? Like, how would I have had access to GoldenEye? Yeah, like, none of this makes sense.
You guys saw me try to stop the helicopter.
Yeah, like, just do a tiny bit of research and you'll be like, okay, clearly Bond can't be the one. But, they capture him, take him to the archive. We finally reveal to the Russians that Oramov is the traitor, but it's not going to do much good.
They believe her enough to not immediately shoot the bad guy, and instead let him have his chance to shoot them instead. Yeah,
like, that is one of those subtly brilliant things from the movie, because you're just like, all right, here's the Minister of Defense who is believing the British secret agent plus the Russian programmer. He's like, okay, I actually can see it being Oramov. Like, I think I'm going to follow through with this, but Oramov's, charges in and grabs the gun, and as the defense minister is revealing that he's going to arrest him, Oramov turns and just shoots the two guys in the room, the two Russians in the room. Should have shot Bond and Natalia with a different gun, but no, he's not that smart. He thinks he's going to somehow get him arrested.
Yeah, I think it's a decision by that guy, and I can't remember if he is already immediately drinking when he shows up, or if he will just drink through the rest of the car chase, because
I think
that's all he does.
Yeah, and I think his first drink is after he kills the defense minister, because he empties out the clip, and he removes all of Bond's ammunition, but gives Bond back his service rifle weapon. And then while he's talking about how this is going to go down, I think he grabs his drink, and that's what causes Bond to attack him. But I could be misremembering it. It could be that when he gets in the car is when he starts his serious drinking habit. But yes, from this point on in the movie, he is going to be a hard alcoholic. It was just a decision that they made, and we're going to stick with it, dang it.
Yeah, I feel like it's a little bit like Boris later on. Boris is trying to hack a password with one hand because he's spinning a dangerous exploding pen in the other one. Like, this guy's holding her hostage, but his other hand has to be busy with something. Give me something.
We've never seen him typing one-handed. The first time we saw him hacking, he was using two hands. The second time we saw him at a computer, he used two hands. But now he needs to have this pen, so he's going to type with one hand.
Yeah. There's a few convenient setups that, you can brush away and suspend the disbelief. But.
And I will admit that is one of those things that is not going to detract from the movie for me. Even the exact replica copy of the GoldenEye satellite dish that is not an exact replica. That's not enough to really pull me out. I'm still having a great time with it. It's really only the beginning and the music that kind of pulls me out. I love the archives escape into the tank chase. I feel like There's a reason that both of those areas are shown as like definitive GoldenEye moments, and it's because they are such good action sequences, with one itty bitty tiny whiny exception. And that is that Bond would not have passed the accuracy test on the archives level in order to get the top ranking. You know, I think you have to get a certain accuracy level to unlock some of the characters in the multiplayer, and Bond is not unlocking anyone.
Didn't get rid of anyone. Didn't hit a thing.
He did hit things. He just needed entire clips from rifles. And I do like that he keeps picking up other rifles. Like, this is not a magic one rifle with infinite bullets. He is firing it, dropping it, grabbing a dead man's gun, and firing that. And I like that. That's a very subtle touch, but it's a good touch. And I appreciate it being in the movie.
Yeah, I feel like the tank chase.
Yeah, I was going to say, the tank chase is ridiculous and so much fun.
Well, it's so... I feel like the first time I watched it, it was unexpected. I expected him to grab a truck. Like, grab something that you can chase down a car and know he's going to go through a tank. And it's going to immediately punch through the wall that, I mean, I assume tank yard walls may be built a little bit thicker, but this one's going to punch through there. He's going to punch through something else. And as soon as he did the second one, I was like, I wonder if we can get a third punch through. And immediately the movie's like, yes, I got you. Here's a third one.
We're going through as many walls as you want. You know what? We're going to go through some product placement, some brand deals. We're going to rip through that as well. Like, we're ripping through it all. The stunt that oh man, I'm sure that it's okay, but I've never looked it up because it looks so close to killing someone. One of the police cars gets run over by Bond's tank.
Oh yeah.
And at one point it looks like he goes over the driver's side
if
area.
The driver's side is left side, I don't know.
I
didn't
but
notice them on the right
there's
side.
definitely a person. There are two people in that car. And it looks like one of them got smushed by a tank. But then we cut to another image of that same smushed car, and an officer is getting out of that seat. But maybe. I don't know if that's just another extra that they hired to get out of wreckage that had already been pre-wrecked. It's one of those stunts. There are a few of them in this franchise that make me wince. The guy getting totally
hit by the boat.
By a shark. The guy getting hit by a boat. The guy in the boat getting hit by a falling car. Like, there are some of these stunts where I'm just like, man, I think a real person got hurt just then. And this is one of them where it looks very close to me. But I don't want to look it up because I don't want to hear about someone actually getting hurt.
Yeah. The tank drifting is a real thing they do, which obviously it does in the shot. I think that was really cool.
Most of the shots are real. I don't think there's a lot of digital compositing for the
could
tank
have been
chase.
a really light tank or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a stunt tank, and I'm sure they've got multiples because there's one point where he goes over the wreckage of a bunch of cars, and immediately when it comes out the other end, one of the tank treads is totally ruined, and that would be the end of the tank chase if that were the real thing. But we cut immediately to a perfectly fine one with perfectly fine tank treads. The most fake thing about it, the one part, well, not one, there are two parts that I don't like, and they all begin with the statue, the Pegasus with the Russian guy on it. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I don't like when the tank gets it, like hits it, and so the statue lands on top of the tank. I don't like when the tank takes it to an art or some kind of pathway connecting two buildings and it gets stuck there and lands on top of the cop cars. I don't like that Bond stops the tank so the cop cars can crash into it and he can turn around and fix his tie and look all debonair and stuff because he lets the bad guy get away. Like, why did he stop? It's really just the end of the tank chase that I don't like, but whatever. I can't fault a good scene for a bad ending. Like, you're allowed to have a couple of missteps.
Yeah. Oh, but then let's see.
Then we go to the train.
Because Natalia gets taken to Alec and Jean Grey and
Bond pulls up
the train
right in sight of Jean Grey. Like, if she doesn't even have to look up, it's got to be in her periphery.
I wrote that down, being like, he snuck in sight of Jean Grey with the tank. Like, the tank is like on a bridge above where they're getting in the train.
She's looking right in that direction.
I feel like tank engines make more noise than that.
Yeah. Treads make more noise than that. She is out of the train when he's rolling up. She should hear. That's
why I feel like if it was a car, he could sneak up easier, but
he chose a tank. The
most
noticeable vehicle that could possibly have parked on the bridge above Jean Grey. But she hasn't developed her psychic powers yet. We can't hold this against her. The train is interesting. It's a good design. I like the idea that Alec is an outlaw in Russia, just riding around in an old Soviet missile train. And, that's just what he does as a criminal.
Nobody really questions it as it comes through the station.
Exactly. It's not like riding on the open highways where you can go to other roads. You are on tracks that are going to stations.
Part of why it feels like it's a different villain or different, level of villain and care. He wants to blow up something big, but also his own government isn't, noticing him yet. Mm-hmm. They aren't really super involved. This is stakes between super spies.
Yeah,
and those stakes are world affecting. So KGB doesn't involve. CIA kind of shows up at the end as backup
but they don't even believe it. They're like, there's no way there is a satellite in Cuba. You are wrong. We're going to help you infiltrate Cuba, but you're wrong. Just so you know.
Just in case.
Yeah. So no world powers believe that Alec is a threat or an issue. And that, that's one of those things that kind of takes me out personally, because I'm like, how is he getting away with being a known criminal element in Russia and driving around in an old Soviet missile train? That would be the most obvious criminal in all of Russia.
Yeah.
But, somehow Bond gets ahead of it, and he plans to use the tank to derail the vehicle. And I need to say, because Natalia makes a point, this is the first vehicle that Natalia has seen James Bond driving. And he uses it to derail a train. So he destroys his first vehicle, the tank, that she has seen. I just want to make sure that we keep that in
mind.
In our mind for later in the movie. But, Bond crashes the train. He almost gets a chance to kill Alec, but Alec has Natalia captured by Ourumov. Ourumov is so drunk at this point. It is shocking that he is standing after the train crash. It's such a powerful train crash. And to my knowledge, the only one dead because we don't see him is the conductor. Everybody in the train, not even a bruise.
Flames all engulfing the cockpit or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a okay handoff of the plot. Natalia gets left with Bond, essentially, because Bond has to choose to shoot either Alec or Oramov, and shoots the Oramov guy, and so she's free, but Alec and Jean Grey get away and trap them inside a train car that must be a second train car because the first one has a helicopter in it just for this sort of situation.
Well, that's the missile site. That's what formerly would have launched a missile, but now it launches a helicopter.
Sure. I will believe it. We'll take it.
It's the thing that I am least upset about, if I am honest with you. From this scene and from the whole premise, I'm like, fine, helicopter, great, whatever. It makes as much sense as everything else.
I feel like it's they get away, and Natalia tries to find out where they're going by tracing Boris, who for the first time and only time uses a password that is still plain text, but is not actually an innuendo or reference to body parts. She's
an idiot, because every password she tries is an innuendo, like arse and bum.
It's like, but that's where it's like Boris changes, like the character in Boris doesn't feel consistent in that he used this password in order for Natalia to look dumb and not know how to guess his password, because she knows his character.
Yeah.
Bond can guess the riddle.
Because he doesn't know the character. He's just like, okay, I hear the riddle, I'll just answer the riddle.
Feels inconsistent, feels like a little kind of subtle. Well, she needs Bond to figure it out, and him getting them out of there is apparently so disarming that she wants to get with him. Like, it's
she is smitten at this point. Like, she was kind of on the fence about Bond. Like, even when they escaped the helicopter, she tried to run away, and he forced her to stay so they could both get arrested together. And then Bond is making all these promises, like, I will keep you safe, I will get you out of here, and she gets kidnapped by Oramov. And true to his word, Bond does chase them down. So I can put myself in her shoes to be like, all right, that is pretty dang romantic for a guy to rescue me by chasing me down in a tank. Like, that's pretty dope.
I guess.
But this is the second vehicle they are inside. They are inside of a train. Bond uses his laser watch while she uses her hacking skills. She figures out that they are in Cuba. Bond figures out that lasers cut metal, so he's able to break through the bottom of the train, and they're able to escape and run away, and it explodes! And that's vehicle number 2 that Bond has been inside of that has exploded.
Oh, yeah.
I just want to make sure that we are clear
Keep
on this. But she now insists on coming with. I genuinely do not get the premise where she's like, I can hack it.
She says like she can disarm it, yeah.
Yeah, she's got the computer programming skills, and I'm sitting here thinking, Bond's got bombs. Like, I don't think he cares about hacking the computer. I think he cares about kaboom.
Then nothing will get sent up to, so it's,
But whatever, he agrees. He brings her along.
We need an interlude in Cuba before we go to the final act.
Oh man, I hate it.
Bond's just sitting at the ocean. They must have rented some sort of Airbnb because she's got an entirely different swimsuit and, like, what do you call those beach coverings walking up to him.
Yeah. It shows up in all of the trailers because it's the sexy imagery and Bond's sad and he's smoldering.
Bond's contemplative, and he's contemplating her crotch because she walks up and literally, if you do like the ratio and make the grid on the screen, like her crotch is right in the middle. It cuts to Bond, and he's looking in that direction, and I can only imagine that he's looking right there. And then he looks up at her, and they talk, and it's like...
He's like, thank you for trying to cheer me up.
Interesting.
He doesn't say that. That's how I'm picturing him.
Oh boy. So
yeah, I will be honest. This is the third thing that might have reduced the score for me. They're talking about how they are on a timeline and they need to get there ASAP. They don't have time to dilly-dally. So naturally, they're going to waste time at a beach house having endless sex and
apparently.
So it's just one of those things that I'm grateful that it's short, but it is the worst part of the end of this movie.
Short, but it does feature, I would think, the second time that she's had a non-consensual kiss. Because on the train, Alec kissed her and was like, Bond and I shared a lot of things. And it's like, oh, this is so gross. And then Bond
rapiness
stops her as she tries to go away because she's not impressed. It's bigger picture, step back. It's all escapism. And it's like, if you want a show about a super spy, like, he's gonna have these moments so that this isn't happening in your regular life. So here you go. It's on the big screen.
Well, and again, this points to, like, I think that Brosnan wanted to bring it back to the Sean Connery style Bond. I don't have any evidence for this except for the fact that, we've got violence against women, rape on women because he's forcing himself on them, but it's okay because he's got that super sex and they are going to be okay with it after the fact. So as good as this movie is, it has some of that extremely toxic and extremely cringy misogyny that we were kind of done with.
We were done with it.
Yeah, I feel like we were done with it during the Lazenby movie. Like, I think everybody Lazenby was with, I think all of them wanted to be with him.
Mountaintop retreat full of women. Are just dying to see if any man comes up there. And it's
exactly.
Again, escapism, but hey, it's consensual.
And that is the key for me. That is the only thing I need for me to be like, okay, fine. Even if it's fantasy, I need consent in my fantasy.
Yes, please.
And so that's my biggest beef with the movie in general, is that it is kind of hearkening back to that classic Bond that doesn't have any regard for what women think or what they say. And I don't know if that's going to be the case with all of the Brosnan movies, because again, I am not that familiar with this era, despite the fact that when I see Pierce Brosnan, I still think, oh, that's James Bond. So I've got a complicated relationship with James Bond, I guess. That's what it boils down to.
Well, once we get through that whole scene, which isn't too long, but it's still plenty long enough, they go looking for the satellite that's a replica, and they obviously don't see it as they fly over a lake that was probably 4 times larger than the satellite was. And they get shot down as they try to go over it again, marking the third vehicle that Bond explodes. They pass out from shock, and Bond wakes up to getting a jump kick to the chest from a helicopter. Like, this is, like the Natalia screaming at him in the helicopters.
Yep.
Again, what a way to wake up.
What a rude awakening. I'll be honest, this is my least favorite Jean Grey scene in the whole movie. It leaves a sour taste in my mouth, and it's my least favorite death in all of James Bond. Like, even worse than Mayday's meaningless death, where she totally could have gotten off of the thing. Yeah. Like, she just wanted to die. I still prefer Mayday's death over Jean Grey's death. Like,
interesting.
Yeah.
It wasn't too climactic. The visual of her being dead in the tree is probably better than all the lead up. Like, more and more ingrained after you watched it. It's like, oh, she died that way. And she kind of just dies. Like, there's no... I don't even know if Alec figures out that she's dead.
Nope. He doesn't care about her at all in this movie. Like, that's part of the reason why I don't love her as a villain, is because not even her allies care about her.
Yeah.
Like, she's a nothing character for the movie and for everything else, which sucks because she has a wonderful 90s gimmick, and yet she doesn't do anything except kill people with sex and look hot. That's it.
Basically.
Yeah. What a waste of Jean Grey.
Because, I feel like she just needed to be dead before the whole face-off, because otherwise Alec would have some backup to try and hit Bond. But I think
I don't know if I would believe that Bond could defeat both Alec and Jean Grey together. So I think I can forgive the movie killing off Xenia. I'll say her name. Killing her off now because that makes sense for the later fight. I haven't even given her due for the clever last name. It's Onatop. And it's funny, they make puns about Onatop throughout the movie. Like, I shouldn't only call her Jean Grey just because it's Famke Janssen.
Sometimes I forget her name in this movie. I don't know if anyone says it other than the MI6 telegram to his car.
The biggest deal they make about it is at the beginning when she introduces herself, then he, goes to MI6 in his car, and Miss Moneypenny has that great pun of being make sure to stay on top of things. I'm glad it's Miss Moneypenny who makes the joke, and I do like our new Miss Moneypenny.
Yeah, we entirely skipped over Miss Moneypenny. Threatens James with a sexual harassment complaint, but is also kind of still into him.
I know, like, it's the most deserved sexual assault or sexual harassment threat in any movie, and yet she plays it with a wink and a nod, like, ha ha ha, could you imagine if I did? He absolutely deserves to have those filed against him.
That fact that she gets to, like, prod him with that makes it better. Because I feel like old Moneypenny probably would just, it's a lot more eye rolly, and it's like, this James is awesome, but he got married and I'll be sad about that, but it just also isn't going to work out. She just knows. The old Miss Moneypenny just knew that flirting was as far as it would go. New one is like, I think I got a chance with this guy, and frankly, she's got a chance with me. I'm sorry. That's probably going to get cut. I don't know what else she's in.
Yeah, I would not know at all, and feel free to type away and look that up while I move us just ever so gently into the actual satellite, because now they gotta drain it. And I have a love-hate relationship with the Cuban version of the GoldenEye satellite. I've said it before. I hate the fact that they call it an exact replica when it clearly is not. But I love that it's a mountain satellite. I love that, they built a freaking satellite in a lake, and clearly they would have had to build it underwater so that the Americans don't see that there is a satellite showing up underneath this lake. But it's impractical, it's not realistic, but I still like the imagery of it. So there's just, it's a love-hate relationship. As many things as I could say good about it, I could think of dumb things about it that are terrible, but it exists, it's cool, it's iconic. It's another thing that you often see with this movie, is that giant mountain satellite
that can get fouled up and explode from a single pipe put in the right gearbox. Maybe my main problem is the fact that actually blew it up. But it blew it up so that it could fall on the bad guy.
Yes. Nothing about its failure makes all that much sense. It just looks cool.
Yeah.
But, Bond has... since we have established that this is an unofficial X-Men prequel, Bond has Domino's powers. He is super lucky, and he's able to just put a pipe in one thing, and that pipe is going to end up destroying the entire thing. It's just good luck.
For their lead up to the satellite, Alex sees them outside, tries to get people to shoot him. They go in the dish. They are able to sneak into all of the GoldenEye replica place.
They do very good sneaking work for a while. I will give the movie their credit because Bond is able to place a bomb. Natalia is able to change the password. Like, they are winning until they're not.
And I think it's fun. It's a little less like Bond being led around the grounds of the supervillains. Like, here, come take a look at this. Come take a look at that.
They never gave him a tour.
Yeah, he's there, and then finally, the only time that he's being interrogated, he's like, he's not a welcome guest. So it's nice change from, like, how do we get Bond to see what's going wrong before the bad guy wants to kill him? No, this bad guy already wants to kill him.
Yep, and He's got ideas, but he can't do it just yet because they did something. And besides, there is something broken in Alec's brain. And so he wants to show Bond losing. Like, at any point, he should have killed Bond. He only needs Natalia. She's the one who has changed the password. He has already disarmed Bond's remote bombs that come directly from the video game.
Yeah.
So cool. He's already deactivated those. He doesn't know if there's anything else that could be doing it, except that the password has been changed. So he doesn't need Bond. He just wants Bond to lose. He wants to see Bond lose. And that is his failure.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the fact that it feels like Alec knows the tricks that Q can put into Bond's repertoire, and so he's like watches and pens and mentions Q, but he doesn't specifically mark any red flags to Boris.
Yeah.
So Boris eventually gets the pen.
The pen.
Well, if he knows about Q, I feel like
he knows about
everything should be suspect.
And yes, you are absolutely correct. Everything should be suspect. So this is one of those things where people argue, is this good or bad? And I'm going to take the side of it being good. I think that in the 9 years since Alec has been dead, Q has not changed watches. Watches, likely since the 50s, have been tap this one button to disarm a bomb if you need to, and then tap it again to rearm it. I bet Q is set in his ways. Instead, what excites Q are the new gadgets. And if there's anything that is brand new, and I think for Q, it is that pen, that's going to be the thing that will throw Alec off. And on top of that, there's this short little scuffle where Nightcrawler starts threatening Natalia, and Bond gets in there, and the pin and a few other things get dropped. And I have no idea why Nightcrawler decides to pick up the pin, but for some reason he does. And
that's what he goes for.
Yeah, like, nobody notices it because maybe it is his pin. A lot of things were dropped in that little scuffle. So I can forgive Alec not knowing that the pin is a Q device. I can forgive just that. But I also see the other side of things where it's like, well, there was no pin before and now he has a pin. Like, isn't anyone going to say, where'd that come from? But, it's fun to have the tension. Click 3 times to arm, click 3 times to disarm. He's got a habit of clicking it twice and only twice. And he keeps doing it over and over again.
It's a nice bit of tension.
Yeah, I think they built it up well. I think it's earned. And when he finally gets frustrated and jumps up, you hear him click it 3 times. I don't know why he clicked it 3 times then. But that's all Bond needed to knock it out of his hand and start the chaos.
Yep. I do think it was interesting. Maybe it was a little forethought on Bond's part, but the mines are on these tanks of whatever. Something explosive. But there's holes in it? I'm like, is that holes from gunfire? Or
I can't remember how those holes were made, because that was like a contingency that Bond had to make sure that liquid was leaking.
Yeah.
But if he had made a gunshot, we would have heard the gunshot. So I don't know how those holes were made. I can't remember that.
We'll have to
right
watch
now.
it one more time.
I know, how horrible.
Have to watch everything to explode, so
Yeah.
they can't do the GoldenEye stuff. But they also still need to disable the antenna, because I think maybe the GoldenEye stuff was already locked in.
And that's where we're getting to the magical pipe that gums up the gears. And my beef with it is I don't know how Bond got there. Because they're like inside the satellite dish, and then they have their little fight sequence. And somehow now Bond is at the top of the satellite in that tiny room.
Because it went down to the bottom.
Yeah.
It's another impossible
This movie just has them teleporting everywhere.
Basically.
It's not enough for me to be like, this is a bad movie because of it. It's just one of those things where as I think about the movie, I'm like, man.
I don't think I noticed it. So yeah, I think it's like, that is impossible.
That is where Alec and Bond are going to have their final battle.
They take an elevator and they do get help, like from that Thor movie. She lays on the ground and the guard comes to look at her, and Bond takes out the guard. So they take an elevator to the side top of the
and then he
antenna.
could travel by foot to the actual top of it. Okay, I'm willing to accept that. I must have just forgotten it completely. I was just sitting here thinking about, wait a minute, the next fight sequence is at the top and we've been at the bottom. What just happened?
Meanwhile, we get cut-in shots of Boris trying to save the satellite. Everything's happening at once. It's all so tense.
It's really good. It's really good that they did this, because the closest thing that I can think of that comes anywhere close to having frantic action would be Moonraker, where we're cutting all over the station to see what's going on in different places, but we're still in kind of a relatively condensed area, and we're mostly following 2 characters. We're following Bond and the villain, whose name I have forgotten.
And the Bond stuntman does a front flip down these rickety steel stairs. I'm like, dang, dude, that is insane.
Yeah. There are some very good stunts happening.
I love the praise for the stunt people.
Yep,
and then we get a fight scene with the actors. It's lovely.
And I love the close-up stunt fighting. I'm always going to say I love it when we can have the actual actors appear to be throwing punches. I just think that allows us to believe it more. I love the ladder fall. So Alec finally gets the upper hand, and he gives this speech about being better than Bond. And he gets ready to shoot him, but Bond breaks the lock from the ladder that takes him all the way down, and very nearly he slips and falls. Like, it's dramatic. It's not like there's a stuntman who looks like he's about to trip and fall. It is Brosnan acting like he is tripping and falling. But watching a person, and I hope it was a person and not like just a mannequin, but watching a person ride that ladder down, I was like, that is dope.
That was quite. I'm like, how do you? I mean, you have to plan that and then shoot it, and I'm sure that there was stuff beneath it, like it's not on the satellite, but
oh yeah. They're definitely at some kind of studio for that stunt, and they've got to have some kind of green screen. I hope. But I don't know. Bond is known for having, like, dangerous stunts. Back in the Connery days, every time there was a helicopter, that helicopter was really there with the real actors.
10 feet away from someone.
Yes.
Spinning around.
So why not do something impractical, like drop someone down a ladder? But it leads to Alec chasing him down the ladder, and we get our final confrontation. And Bond gets the drop on him. That was my Bond style pun.
Because he has to get crushed by everything, so we gotta drop him. But I feel like it's you kicked him to get rid of him for the dramatic pause of Bond catching him by his shoes. Like,
yes,
that would be tough to do in real life.
Yeah, absolutely. And Alec cannot believe that he's going to be rescued. Like, I'm picturing him giving that final speech being like, "You're not going to kill me, James." And I'm sitting here like, how is James going to rescue you? Like, no one is going to pick you up from this position. But I had misremembered the death in a previous episode. I had thought that the satellite was exploding and Alec gets dropped into the explosion. I misremembered completely. It is much more brutal. It is much more brutal.
I feel like they kept the actual crushed death from being dropped that high. I'm like, I don't think he would be conscious if he was dropped from that high to get crushed by the satellite exploding. And be in as many pieces as he's in.
Yet he is. He is conscious. He lands. It's horrifying when he lands on the ground and he's all bent up and you're thinking, man, he's got to be dead. But no, he coughs up some blood and he's still alive. So maybe we've got another Blofeld on our hands and he's just going to be wheelchair bound, but still the villain. Nope, there's going to be a satellite that falls on top of him.
Well, I mean, at that exact moment when he's getting dropped, we also get Boris screaming because the GoldenEye satellite is burning up. It kind of is a little bit juxtaposed. I don't 100% love it. It's kind of like a jump scare.
Yeah.
But for things happening at the same time, I think it was cool.
It fits with what they were going for the entire movie. But of our screaming cuts, and I guess there's only two because we've got Natalia screaming at Bond in the helicopter, and now we've got Boris screaming at the computer. This is the more jarring of the two of them. And it's not even the end of Boris yet. Like, he's watching everything fail and explode around him. But
the satellite falls down and crushes Alec, and the main center where Boris is at the bottom of the satellite.
Yes.
It's not at the top of the satellite, so this is actually feasible. It's not impossible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like we saw gravity working as it's supposed to. Instead of magically landing at the top of something when you go down. But he survives. He survives the satellite crashing into the ceiling. He survives all of that. And he gives his catchphrase. Yes, I love his catchphrase. It's the only charming thing about Boris to me.
Yep.
But I do love that then some liquid nitrogen explodes behind him and he is flash frozen. So all four of our villains are dead. There's no one to come back at the end of the movie.
The world
one
saved.
Last kill. Yeah, like world is saved. Everyone's dead. And Bond is able to get away. The way that he gets away is by helicopter. And a crucial thing about this helicopter escape is that he does not get inside the helicopter. He was riding the bottom of the helicopter, and it's an unwilling pilot who is taking them to safety, and he falls into the grass, and then Natalia jumps from the helicopter into the grass, and then the helicopter flies away because screw this, I am not sticking around for all this noise. But it's the fourth vehicle that Natalia has experienced Bond around. And critically, he did not get inside of it, and it did not crash.
Yeah, I think it almost brings back the trope ending of, all right, well, we're going to get it on. Oh, wait, There's somebody nearby. And the fact that it didn't like have a beat from the climax of the movie to that makes it not as horrible. We're going to take a beat. Bond and them have, calmed down, and now we're going to peek in on them. Oh, wait, that's the wrong timing. Oh, no.
Yep, yeah. I do prefer, if we're going to have the one last kiss, I prefer it to be immediately after the climax, like immediately after the save the day moment.
Day is saved.
Yeah, any of the movies where Bond has later gone to the girl, and that's our closing scene, I just don't buy it as much. I don't like it. I'm not into it. But, something like Man with a Golden Gun, where immediately after leaving, they're on the boat right after getting away, and that's when they get invaded. And this time it's the CIA who's, it's not M who's calling
They're just chilling.
Yeah.
They're just there.
And literally just there because, all right. It's cute. It's a fun thing to be like, yo, Marines. And then, magically, there's all these Marines here. The thing that pulls me out of that is when the 3 helicopters magically descend. Like, you would have seen them. Like, we live in a 360 world. Like, we don't have a camera angle that obscures the existence of helicopters. You would have seen all 3 of those helicopters.
Surprise, we're here.
Yeah, surprise helicopters. But, whatever. It's cute. It's fun. It's showing off the CIA. And in a British movie that's...
Ward guy is there.
Yeah.
So we get to see him nicely.
And that's the best we're going to get from the CIA or the Marines in a British movie. And we've got to accept that and be happy that they gave us anything. I would have done without it. Maybe have what's the CIA agent's name? Did you say it was Jack Wade?
I think Wade, yeah.
Okay. Have him in the scene, fine. But this is similar to Goldfinger, where they had access to American military personnel. So why not ask them to show up in the movie? It doesn't work for the movie. I don't like it, but I can understand why they would do it. Like, if you can, then do it.
And they ride the helicopter off into the sunset, and James Bond will return.
Not off into the sunset, man. They're going off to Guantanamo, which apparently wasn't a terrible place to go in the 90s, but in my lifetime, that changed.
Yeah.
That was one of those things where I was like, wow, history happened to this movie.
Dated.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I think I missed that.
Yeah, it's a dumb little throwaway thing, but it's in there. And then we get our final closing credits song. We had a different closing credits song in the last movie, License to Kill, and we're getting it again in this movie. I hate it. I hate this closing credits song.
Are you saying it's the same one as the License to
No,
Kill, or just the fact that it's different?
It's a different song, similar to the way that License to Kill did. So License to Kill had its opening theme song and then a separate theme song for the end of the movie. And this one does the same. I'm trying to find the title of it because it's not a good song. And I thought it was by like Prince or not Prince, Sting or somebody from like the 80s to 90s period. Oh, I'm completely wrong. It's called The Experience of Love by Eric Serra. And he had used that movie or that theme song in Leon the Professional, which came out a couple of years before.
Okay.
And so, like, it was a recycled song, which kind of sucks.
A little bit, yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah. So I don't like the closing credit song. I don't like the fact that we are in this period of James Bond will return, but we don't get to know in what.
And I mean, they said that last time, and we got a completely new Bond.
Yeah. How do we know we're going to have the same Bond?
Yeah.
All right. Well, there's not really anything about like alternate histories or anything else. Timothy Dalton was happy to be done with Bond. Pierce Brosnan was happy to take the role of Bond. This kicks off the reboot franchise. It's a soft reboot franchise. And I think we are ready to say on this podcast, we do reviews and not grades. And the key difference there is where you find the average. On a grade, you would say the average is a 7 out of 10. That's your C. Doesn't make any sense. That is definitely not the middle point of 10 points. No, we give things a rating where we say 5 is the average. That is the okay movie. And with that said, as always, Justin, what would you give this movie on a scale of 1 to 10?
Always. From my average perspective, and having also watched all of those previous Bonds, I enjoy this one the most. So I was trying to figure out how to put that with my other 7s. I'm going to go 7.5 because I know that it's a lot of nostalgia goggles kind of speaking, but I haven't watched this movie since I got smart, so.
And you're still able to enjoy it. Like,
yeah.
To me, that's the key for nostalgia glasses. There are a lot of movies that I loved as a kid, and then I come back to them and I'm like, oh, this isn't that good.
I mean, I might be setting myself up with a bar for the Craig era movies to cross over, but I do feel like at least Casino Royale is so nicely put together. I don't feel like there's a scene that doesn't do something. So
yeah,
this one will be my highest rated for now.
I think that is fair, and I gotta tell you, I am at a 7. So far, that is still my top score. I have not been able to go above a 7, and I can't do it this time either. And even though, like, I have a soft spot for this movie. Like, this is one of those movies that if someone says, hey, are you in the mood to watch GoldenEye? The answer is almost always yes. But that's how I feel about the other 7s in this franchise, where, like, I personally enjoy them a lot, but I can recognize that they are not great movies. They are good movies. They are movies that I enjoy watching and I have a lot of fun with them. And there are parts of them that are going to stick in my head forever. But they're not, like, world-changing. They're not great. And part of the issue is, and it's most egregious here, and it's to its benefit, it's the fact that this franchise chases trends. We saw it in Moonraker when they were like, hey, Star Wars exists. Let's make a Star Wars. And now we've got a universe where Tom Clancy exists, and they're like, let's make a Tom Clancy. And it works. Like, I'm not going to point at that and be like, that's why this franchise sucks. No, it's the opposite. That's why this franchise rocks, is because they understand what they should be ripping off. And
sometimes there's a good movie. You just got to copy it.
And so I am comfortable with that 7. If the beginning were a little bit tighter and we didn't have so much of the, we promise this really is James Bond, And if the music had been completely different, I think this would have been an 8 or a 9 for me.
Yeah.
Most of the movie comes together brilliantly. There's just those two like blemishes for me that I'm just like, these are the parts that I have to admit are genuinely bad. And that's what brings it down to a 7 for me. But I'm sticking with it. And as a show average, we are at 7.25, putting this at the top of Potato Chip Pictures' leaderboard of James Bond movies.
Say that's good. There's good reasons that I like the other ones that I did 7. This one just has that extra. This is the first James Bond that I knew. I'd heard of the other ones, but
this is a very fair place to start, I think. Like, maybe you've got kids that can't really sit through 80s and older movies. Maybe you're barely able to get them to sit through Ghostbusters. I'm fine with saying skip those movies until they are older, but GoldenEye might be the place to start for them. It's cartoonish at points. The story is there for the adults, and the kids are not going to understand a word of it because there's a lot of story going on.
I wonder how much staying power it has if you don't have the GoldenEye and 64 to go along with it.
And that's the other experiment. Like, if you don't have a Switch and you don't have... I'm just assuming that GoldenEye is available on the Switch because why not have everything from the eShop? But if you do not have access to GoldenEye, the video game, how do kids react to this movie today? Like... I've said it multiple times in this podcast. I know the video game far better than I know the movie. And that's only because I played the game like 100 times, but I only watched the movie maybe 10 at most, across my entire life. And this is the one from Pierce Brosnan that I have seen the most. So I'm excited to see the next ones to see if they hold up, if they go down. Like, I know what people have told me, but I don't remember them well enough.
It'll be, highest rating of Bond. So it's a great start to the new series, season of Actor, which is unfortunately the only way to go down. The only way from here is down.
Yes.
Do the grapevine.
That's again what we've heard. It's very possible that time has been unfair to the next movies, because you look at a movie like On Her Majesty's Secret Service. At the time, people hated it, but now people watch it today and they're like, this is a really good movie. Like, you guys were wrong for hating this movie as much as you did. And maybe that's going to be the case with the next movies. Maybe there's something to them that is better than people remembered at the time. And I'm excited to get there. All right. Well, if you would like to help support this show, the best way to do that is to interact with the show on whatever platform you are currently listening on. If that is YouTube, give us a like and a subscribe, maybe a comment. If you've got a platform that leaves a rating, do one of those. That is helpful to the show. You can also share episodes with your friends. If you want to get in touch with us more directly, I would say the best ways to do it are to either comment on one of our shorts. We post those to Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Or you can send us an email at potatochippicturespod@gmail.com. Those ones I'm more likely to see immediately, whereas like a review or a comment, I don't check most of the podcatchers. Like, I don't check our iTunes or any of that stuff. So it'll be a minute before I would see any of those. But I still, I think we could say it's a very kind thing to leave a review for us.
Yeah, it'd be nice. We'd love to hear from you.
Exactly. All right. Well, with all of that said, James Bond and Potato Chip Pictures will return when tomorrow never dies. Thank you so much for listening. Goodbye.
Bye.